Okay, you guys, I got a little confession to make. The video you just watched of me making my coffee isn't actually from today. I'm actually going to be using an older video that I had done for a previous Will I Buy It because, y'all, my nails are not looking great today. I was out in the garden planting a couple things. If you're new around here, I'm starting a garden this year. A little late to be starting a garden in Florida, but we're trying. We're doing some okra and beans and stuff that likes the heat because it's getting pretty hot here. Anyway, getting on a rabbit trail already, but all that to say, my nails need a lot of TLC. There's a lot of dirt just stuck everywhere. I need to spend some time with the scrub brush, but I've been avoiding it because I got a bunch of cuts on my hands. So the thought of like scrubbing at my fingers right now makes me want to cry because I got like I said, a lot of cuts on them. So my nails just don't look very good right now. So I was like, you know what? It probably isn't the best idea to film a close-up of your hands right now, Katie. So yeah, the video you just watched is an older one, but I still do have my coffee and I still am going to be drinking coffee as we do today's Will I Buy It, talking about new makeup releases. And if you're new around here, this is typically where I sit down once a week and I get to talk about all the new releases that came out, mostly in the indie world, and just chat with you guys about what I think about them, if I plan to pick them up, that sort of thing. But today's going to be a little bit different because if you are new around here, I was away for 2 weeks. It's been a while since I did a Will I Buy It. So anyway, there were a lot of releases and I was going through the folder of stuff I had saved over the course of the time that I was out, and I even though that list was insanely long, I know I still missed stuff because I just was really off of social media for a lot of the time the past 2 weeks. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna take the highlights. So I kind of looked around at a couple of the channels or the Instagram accounts that I follow to stay up on the news, and I decided to feature and just show you guys the top 5, bottom 5 from the past few weeks, what stood out to me as being really cool releases or that caught my eye from the past few weeks, and then bottom 5 are the 5 really worst, oddest, whatever, that just didn't impress me too much, and therefore they're the bottom releases from the past couple weeks. I am getting this video idea from Annette, from Annette's Makeup Corner. I'll have her linked down below, and she does these Will I Buy It videos in this style where she just shares, I think she used to do them once a month. It's been a while since she's done one. Either that or I missed them. But anyway, she'll do these on occasion and just share top 5, bottom 5, and just talk about 10 products and call it a day. But anyway, this intro is getting pretty long-winded, so why don't we go ahead and scoot over and just jump right into talking about some releases from the past couple weeks that really caught my eye and stood out either for a really good reason or really bad reason. Okay, and as I said, I'm going to do top 5, bottom 5, and I was kind of thinking of doing like all the worst first and then the best next, but I think it might be fun to just kind of spice it up. So we'll do a worst and then a best, a worst and a best. We'll go back and forth that way. So that's what we're going to do. I hope you guys are okay with that, but I thought that'd be a little bit fun. So anyway, let me go ahead and open up my phone and start the recording because I always screen record these videos so you guys can see what I'm seeing in the moment. And let's go ahead and just start right off the gate. We're going to start with the bottom 5. So one of the products that stood out for not the best reason, but these are ColourPop launches because in the time that it was away, they launched this right here, which is their So Very Lovely collection. But that's not all. They launched this big palette, which is the Your Golden Mega palette. Your Golden is one of their mega palettes. That's how it goes. They launched this palette, but that's not all. They also launched all of these palettes. And you know what? Even though I have all 3 of these saved, I'm pretty sure I'm probably missing another launch somewhere in there. They were going crazy with the launches while I was away. Oh my goodness. Anyway, this last set is Lust for Dusk. I don't know why that's hard for me to say. Fine Feathered and High Tide. These are all just not on my radar. I think the biggest reason for me that lands in the bottom 5 is just because it's like, oh my gosh, ColourPop. So many releases. Like, come on, ColourPop. I was only gonna wait for 2 weeks. So for the bottom 5, I had to mention ColourPop because I couldn't believe how many releases and how many kind of boring releases. I will say that High Tide is interesting, but I'm not big into mint blue, so it's an easy pass for me. Fine Feathered, an easy pass. This Lust for Dusk just looks like one of the million other palettes they have. This Your Golden is just a very neutral palette with a pop of like silver and gold and a little bit of that watermelon pink in there. It's an interesting palette. Doesn't excite me or attract me at all. And then this palette up here is, again, just a no. It just doesn't look very... It looks like every other palette they've ever launched. I don't know. I was just very bored overall when I was looking between all these releases, and I was just like, yeah, no thanks, no thanks. Like, why? Why so many palettes? Especially these 3. This one, and then the Lust for Dusk. I just feel like they're so repetitive. Anyway, for all those reasons, it's landing at the bottom. Obviously, I'm not planning to pick any up just because... No thank you, ColourPop. It's just too much. Okay, next up, we're gonna switch over to the top. So this is something that caught my eye and I'm very tempted by, but this is from Beauty Bay, and they launched this Utopia collection. Look at this. Every time I run across this picture, I'm just like, oh. This palette over here is actually a cake liner palette, and these are, I believe, glittery or like shimmery type of liquid toppers, and then these are like glitter toppers. But look at this palette over here. This palette is so eye-catching. Again, it's a cloudy day out on top of me being at the back of the house, so Sorry that there's going to be loading pages for a bit, but look at that palette. It's like a really pretty summer, spring. I feel like it gives me vibes of spring, but there's so much saturation in the colors. I'm like, ooh, that's summer. That's just the kind of the vibe I get. But I think it's really pretty, and for the most part, I feel like it shows up really well on the models that they're, you know, the demos that they have down here. Except for the palest, I just feel like the two yellows look like they're just gonna blend in. But honestly, if you have a little bit of a tan, they're gonna pop really nicely. And I like that this is like more pastel brightish, but then it has those deeper tones so that you can really use it to create a whole look that's not too light and pastelish, if that makes sense. Like I like to have deep tones with my more pastel eye looks. Like the video I posted Thursday. It is my Palette countdown review, and in that look I have a very pastel yellow purple look, but I had the outer corner really dark, and I like that. Like I like how the depth kind of grounded the look for me, and everything was very light and airy. Anyway, getting a little bit on a sidetrack there, I really think the palette's pretty, and then of course the cake liner palette I'm very much intrigued at. I don't think I'm going to get it because I feel like I definitely have this already. The only shade I might not have is this kind of, purple blue color up there. I feel like I don't really have that, but I know I have a purple like that. I know I have the red and oranges. Do I have a green like that? Here I am, trying to think of a good reason. You know, I don't have a green like that, so I guess, oh, you know, but I kind of have that blue. This is the blue. This is from About Beauty. That one in there is more of like a purple blue, but like a gray. I don't know. It's an interesting color, so two of them would be more unique, but at the same time, yes, they're unique, but are they colors that I would use very often? And that's where I'm like, no, probably not. So I'm going to pass, but I think it's very pretty. Packaging also on the outer box is very pretty. Lid toppers, definite no for me. The liquid cream, oh wait, they're lip glosses. Never mind, I thought they were cream shadows. They're lip glosses. It's a definite no for me because they're 3 different colors, but they look the same color. Anyway, the palette though, and the cake liner, definitely I'm just like, ooh, that's pretty. Like, look at this beautiful look. I love how, you know, sunsetty the creases and how bright the, you know, inner corner is, but then there's the depth with the blue and the purple, the dark blue and purple. It's beautiful. So anyway, this is a launch that definitely caught my eye, and anytime I see it, like I said, I'm constantly going like, ooh, what palette is that? Ooh, that's a pretty palette. I'm very tempted. I don't plan to pick it up just because I have so many palettes right now, but it's definitely a palette that caught my eye and I wouldn't mind trying. Okay, moving back over to a fail. This is going to be the ABH Norvina palette. This is palette number 4 or 5? No, 5. Volume 5, dropping June 7th, and this is a new palette in the Norvina collection that honestly just looks like an expanded version of her original Norvina palette. This one right here is what it, you know, honestly looks like, just as I said, an expanded version. This is the Norvina palette. I forget when it came out, but it looks like this and just a bunch more shades, maybe more intensity because there is a purple right there, C3. That looks a lot more intense than anything you can find in here. So maybe there's more saturation with the colors because this was a very toned down purple palette, but it's still a very much a purple palette and just expanded. And with these bigger palettes, I really have to see the value in having such a large palette. And when I look up close, I'm just kind of like, I don't love purple and taupes enough to see this being worth it. Like if it was a, you know, one of the other palettes, I think they're a lot more green or orange leaning, then I'd be like, okay, I can see all the reasons for those different shades of green. But since they're purple and taupe, I'm like, you could just use one purple, one taupe. Like there don't have to be all those different types of, or different hues of taupe or different hues of purple. So I know that's just a me thing and why this palette is a total dud. I'm just not into the taupey purples. But if you are, I can see you enjoying this. I can see you being excited. But for me, I saw this and I was just like, it's been a while since ABH launched a palette, and I'm still, you know, it's now here and I have literally zero interest in getting it. It's just a big dud for me. Bringing it back up to top 5, we're going to talk about the Makeup Revolution times Soph. This is their 3rd collection. 3 times that they've collabed with Soph. I'm not really sure who Soph is. Let's click over. She's from the UK or in the UK. I don't know if she has a YouTube channel. I'm assuming she does. She looks familiar, like her face looks familiar, and obviously this is the 3rd collection, so I'm sure I've seen her previous palettes, but this definitely caught my eye just because it has those summery tones, it has those bright colors, but it has the depth in it too. Like look at this corner over here having so much depth, but then this corner over here having so much brightness to it. And another thing, honestly, this little mini palette is really catching my eye. Do I need it? No, but that is my type of neutral palette. Like I love the fact that it has the yellow and red and orange in there to give a pop of something fun and different for a neutral brown look. That's my type of neutral. So honestly, I'm so tempted by this collection. I don't need it. Obviously, I don't need it. I have so many palettes, and honestly, I'm so taken with the eyeshadow palette, I haven't really looked at anything else. She's got highlighters. They look nice. Nothing against them, but I'm just so drawn. Oh, lip products too. I'm so drawn to both of the palettes. I just ignore everything else, obviously. So anyway, mainly talking about the palettes here. I'm very tempted. I just like that color story. I like the depth but the brightness that you get with the larger palette, and then the small palette, I like how it's concise. It gives you a neutral look, but it has those pops of colors to keep things fun. So this is a collection that I feel like I haven't heard many people talking about it or even sharing it, saying like, oh, look at this new collection. But anytime I see it, I'm like, oh, that's pretty. And I'm surprised I say that, because if I really look at the big palette too, there is a good number 3 of the just neutral shimmers, which I tend to not like with so much color, but I think all the other color around it is making me like that's like overshadowing and making me ignore it or just not see it as much, because there's just, I don't know, I like the color that I see. It's like one of those palettes that is my type of fun neutral palette. Like it's neutrals, yes, but you can get some fun colors in there as well to spice things up, or just to weave within the neutrals to get a fun look as well. So this is a launch that I'm continually going back to, and I'm just kind of like, oh, that would be really pretty though. Okay, we gotta talk about this for the bottom 5, and I can feel bad, but this is a bottom. This was a total fail for me, but this is Lunar Beauty's new palette, Facelift. Now the story goes is that his very first palette, I can't even remember, I think Life's a Drag was the palette, the palette was called, and so I guess for, I don't know if it's an anniversary of how many years they've been going. Anyway, he decided to revamp it and reimagine it, I guess you could say, into this new palette called Facelift, because he's kind of giving it a facelift. It actually says Life's a Drag Facelift. Okay, so maybe that's the whole title and I just saw Facelift. My apologies. But anyway, he took his original palette, which everyone had a lot of thoughts on because it was like half neutral, half colorful, and I don't know. I didn't really like it because it was so half-half. I don't know, I was talking about just a minute ago, I like the weave of both of them together seamlessly instead of just saying, hey, you have this half of the palette to use neutral, that half of the palette to use for color, and like combining them is a little bit unnatural, I guess you could say. I don't know, something about that palette was a turnoff for me. So this new palette, here's what it looks like. It's a definite turnoff for me. I'm just like, no, that's a miss. That's a total miss for me. I feel bad. I feel like a lot of people are going to be excited. I like the idea that he did with this, in that he has half neutrals that look all matte, half colorful that look all matte, and then the 3 shimmers in the middle. I'm assuming they're all shimmers. Maybe one's a glitter. I'm not sure actually. But I like the concept, but I think he just should have left Life's a Drag where he had it. You know, in the past, he kind of already launched it. People either loved it or hated it kind of thing, move on, and I don't know, coming back and like, you know, bringing this back to life or giving it a facelift, it just was a miss for me. I don't know. It just didn't really do it for me. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, he should have just left it. He should have just left it as it is, because this really doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't really do anything for me. You'll have to let me know what you think. I feel like I should be mildly interested because it does have those 9 shadows that are very colorful, but at the same time, it's like, it's just a rainbow 9-pan palette over there. So it's not anything super unique in the way of like, I feel like, you know, these days, more color focused, not monochromatic, but only a couple of colors. Those type of focus palettes are kind of where my eyes always go to, as opposed to just all out rainbow palettes. Not that I don't like all out rainbow palettes, but they just don't, they're not as unique as a more concise and condensed and focused on 1 or 2 colors type of color story palette is. That sentence didn't make sense, but I hope you understood what I was going for. Anyway, let me know what you think, because every time I look at this, I'm just like, yeah, no thanks. So it had to go in the fails for me. This is a bottom 5 because I just, no thank you. Next up, for one of the top things that caught my attention, this is from another makeup revolution. This is XX Revolution. Look at this launch. I have not heard anyone talk about this, and maybe I just missed the people talking about it, but like this palette, this little 6-pan, definitely caught my eye. There's 3 shimmers and 3 mattes, and look at that lime green matte down there. That little 6-pan palette has definitely caught my attention so hard. And that's not the only one, honestly. This one down here I think is really pretty. It's a little heavy on the shimmers, but I really like that orange. Maybe that's why I like it. There's a purple one up here that I feel like a lot of people will be excited for. I'm kind of interested in the hot pink one just because it's hot pink and different. I don't know if they're mixed with glitters. I hope not. It's going to be available on Beauty Bay, so maybe that's where I could pick it up. But this green just looks like shimmers, so I'm very much interested. And it's a little 6-pan. It's like, oh, you could try that in just a couple days. It wouldn't be that much more to add to your growing pile of palettes. It's a smaller palette. You could review it very quickly, and you know, it wouldn't be, you know, putting your other palettes too far back. So I'm definitely over here trying to talk myself into it and trying to find reasons and excuses to get it. Yeah, I'm just really tempted by this, and I'm just sitting here trying to find reasons why I should get it. But let me know what you think if you're at all interested. I'm very much interested in XX Revolution just because it's a newer brand of Makeup Revolution, but I'm curious to try it and see if it's like a better version than Makeup Revolution, or I Heart Revolution. Those are two brands, or their sub-brands, whatever you want to call it. Those are two lines that I've tried palettes from them, and they've always been okay, like on the verge. Some of them are better than others kind of thing. But I'd be curious to see if XX Revolution, because it's supposed to be a step up from those brands, if the eyeshadow quality also had a step up. So that's honestly the biggest reason why I'm like, okay, it's a green palette and it's in, you know, the brand that I've been curious to try. Great time to pick it up and see what you think about it. And it's probably not all that expensive. I'm not really sure the price, but Makeup Revolution tends to be more affordable. And even though I think XX Revolution is supposed to be a higher end, I think it's still affordable. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you'd like to see me review this, because I'm definitely tempted. That green looks so pretty. One of the new launches that stood out for being just not up my alley is Jaclyn Hill's new launch, Jaclyn Cosmetics' new launch. It's the Bougie Rouge collection, but the blush palette, there's a blush palette, a 6-pan blush palette. What was it called? It's like Roge? Is that supposed to be Rouge Romance, but just fancy? Because it looks like ROYGE Romance, but I think it's supposed to be Rouge Romance, right? That would make sense to me, Rouge Romance, because rouge is like blush, Moonlight, Luminous Rouge, Loose Blush, Powder Blush. Oh wait, those are the loose shades. So they have 4 loose powders. I don't like her packaging, just me personally. It looks bulky, like unnecessarily bulky, and loose products are definitely a no-no for me. I just don't like to work with them. There's the Rouge Romance Matte Blush Palettes, $45 a piece. 2 versions, okay. So it is Rouge Romance. I don't know why they chose that font for the palette, because it just looks like Roge. I don't know, that U looks like a Y so much. The first time I looked at it, I was like, oh my goodness, what on earth is that palette called? So anyway, that's a pass for me. I'm not into blush palettes. What else is there? There's cream to powder blush sticks, and then a lip cushion. So anything that I wouldn't be mildly interested would just be the lip products, just because it's just a blush collection and I'm just not into blushes. So right there, that's a reason for me to just be like, ah, it's an easy pass. And then the lip products, I'm not interested enough in blushy toned lipsticks to want to get it. So this palette as a whole is an easy pass for me. I tend to not be super taken with her, you know, releases and stuff. Like her brand as a whole is a little just, I don't know, it never really hits well with me. It could be a bias just because of the history I know from her. I totally understand that maybe it's that, but also too, anytime I look at her products and I think about owning them, I'm not into the super reflective packaging. I'm not into the super bulky packaging. And so it's just all the, you know, releases that she's done so far have just been easy pass. We'll see. The big test is going to be when she releases a palette. I don't think she's released a palette yet. I don't think so, unless I totally missed it or it was like a boring color story. But the real test is if she releases a colorful palette, then we'll see if I end up buying it, because I feel like that'll be the true test of whether I'm actually interested in Jaclyn Hill Cosmetics as a brand, or if the brand as a whole is just a miss for me. Because sometimes brands, you know, packaging, aesthetic, you know, the vibe of the brand just doesn't, you know, doesn't jive with you, and that's okay. And I feel like so far with all of Jaclyn Hill's launches and stuff that she's shared, it's always been just, you know, a miss for me, just not my jive. So anyway, for all those reasons, it's landing on the bottom, mostly because I'm just not a blush person, but also too, just because of how long it took me to figure out what the writing was on her blush palette. Okay, last up for top 5, or one of the top 5 that I want to talk about that caught my eye and I was super tempted by, is Lashes by Lena. She launched a bunch of single eyeshadows. This is the Marble series, 10 shadows, and they were $19 each. Look at all of these. Now I would go, and I probably could, I don't know if my internet will work well enough, but she shows all of these and she swatches them. If you've never been to Lashes by Lena, here's her page. She does an outstanding job of showing new launches. Again, my internet's going to be a pain because it's going to not want to show anything. This is her previous launch. She did some loose eyeshadows, and she shows them in so, like, applied in so many different ways on different skin tones. It's very helpful. Here was a previous palette of hers that she launched, and as you can see, I don't know if okay, it's playing. But she does it like with a brush, she does it with a finger, she does it wet, she does it dry, she does it several different ways so you can see really if the, you know, color changes at all depending on, you know, if you apply it with a finger or if you apply it wet or with a brush or whatnot. And then as I said, she also does different skin tones so you can see what it will look like if you're, you know, fair or darker. And I think it's amazing. So anyway, just had to give her a little shout out there. I really appreciate the detail and the commitment to really showing all the colors in a palette. Like, I appreciate it so much. Even though I didn't end up picking either of the palettes that she launched with, you know, those swatches, I appreciate it and I can't wait to see, because she's coming out with a B palette and I cannot wait to see the inside. This is the palette packaging right there. Like, oof, look at that. It's a video. But anyway, that palette, I cannot wait to see the color story. And I think I definitely want to try Lashes by Lena. She's a more expensive brand. Like you saw, the single shadows for $20. They're big pans, but it's still $20 a shadow. So her palettes and her products are more expensive, but I feel like she takes, I mean, if you just watch this video, like the detail work and the quality that I see in her products, I just want to try and see, like, see for myself, try it out and see if, you know, the quality of her eyeshadows and see if it's worth the price. Because there are those brands that are worth the higher price tag, and so I'm very curious. Depending on the color story, of course, of this B palette will depend on if I try it, but I want to try her brand so very much. Anyway, getting back to the main theme, or the main subject of this little talk of Lashes by Lena, it's her single eyeshadows. These look so pretty, visually just so stunning. I was so very tempted, especially this one down here with the gold and the green. That looks super pretty, but they just look so nice. So I feel like I typically don't like marbled eyeshadows, but these were kind of an exception. And anytime I saw them scrolling on social media, I was like, oh, do I want one? Maybe. This could be fun. That one I know is going to swatch and create such a beautiful, beautiful color. It just looks so pretty. So anyway, this one definitely very tempted. I don't think I'll pick it up just because it is more expensive and it is a single shadow, and I'm trying to, you know, stick to palettes just because that's my preference. But I'm definitely have my eye on Lashes by Lena. Definitely curious to see what her B palette turns out to be. And as long as I am down for the color story, I'm definitely going to be picking it up. So fingers crossed on the color story. I can't wait to see what it looks like. Okay, very last for bottom 5. This is going to come in at the bottom as just being a total dud of a release, but this is Kat Von D's new Planet Fanatic palette. It's a new palette spotted in Europe, and I just look at it and I'm like, I don't know, nothing about that color story, nothing about seeing it swatched. Seeing those swatches would make me think, oh, that's Kat Von D. There do appear to be mattes and shimmers mixed at least, but all of the mattes are super light, like very, very light. Like there's a cream, a little bit darker. Those all look like shimmers. A darker cream, like a beigey, I guess, dark beige. Are all the... Oh, and then there's like a purple. But most of the mattes look to be... Oh, and then there's the Tidal Flow. Okay, so there's a couple in there. None of them really dark. I think the darkest one is that, like, gray Tidal Flow. It's a very, very light palette in general. Maybe they were meaning it for a more... But here it looks super rich. That's interesting. Anyway... When I see the swatches, when I see this picture, it looks very monotone and very just like toned out and just washed out. But then I see this and I'm a little more intrigued, like at least there's more, a little bit more saturation with the colors. I'm also not a huge fan of the palette packaging, like the stars. Oh, the stars are like recycle, like in the recycle pattern. I guess the palette's recyclable? I guess. The Planet Fanatic palette is inspired by the beauty of the planet, thinking of sand dunes in the desert, glaciers, canyons, orange sunsets, and emerald seas, landscapes as far as the eye can see. I'm sorry, I feel like the world is full of so much more color than that. I don't know, that's just me. Anyway, all around this palette was a huge fail, a huge dud, so hence why it is earning a spot in the bottom of this top 5, bottom 5, will I buy it new releases, so yeah. It's a pass for me. Alright, so that is going to do it. As I said, this is more of a catch-up type of will I buy it. I really missed a lot of releases that came out, but these were the 10 that kind of stood out as being, you know, really not my jive and really definitely my jive. So I thought it'd be fun to share this and just give you guys kind of the highlights from the past couple of weeks that I was off. And then next week, per usual, I'll be back to sharing most all of the releases, definitely in the indie world that caught my attention that I wanted to share with you guys. So let me know how you guys like this top 5, bottom 5. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys think of these releases. Am I alone in thinking that either it was a super, you know, big hit and I'm super intrigued, or definitely a fail, like, ugh, I don't understand the concept of the palette type of thing? Let me know your thoughts down below. I always love to hear from you guys. And yeah, it was really great to be able to sit down and record a video and chat with you guys. As I said, you know, I took 2 weeks off and I filmed one other video which I posted on Tuesday, but besides that I haven't been recording for like 2 weeks, and it feels so nice to be able to sit down on camera and chit chat with you guys and do something a little extra fun for my makeup since I will be filming a video. I feel like I've been going so low key with my makeup because I've been, you know, on break with family, and then this week I've been, you know, working so much on pre-film content editing it that I knew I wasn't, you know, doing any recording, so I've been going very, very quick and hastily with my makeup. So it was fun today to do a little bit extra, a little bit something fun with a liner. But anyway, with all that said, once again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys very soon in my next one. Bye, guys.